people were killed in clashes between Syrian regime forces and insurgents in southern Idlib province, hours after a Russian-Turkish ceasefire came into effect. The Syrian Observatory for Human Rights Monitoring Group reported that the first 8 hours of the ceasefire had passed with relative calm, and the skies had been free of Syrian government and Russian warplanes. The recent fighting sparked what the United Nations says may be the worst humanitarian crisis yet in a war that has driven millions from their homes and killed hundreds of thousands. Turkey's Coast Guard rescued around 120 migrants trying to reach a Greek island on 3 dinghies after they said the passage was blocked by Greek Coast Guard vessels. Drifting in the darkness in the Aegean Sea and packed into one of the dinghies stranded without a functioning motor, migrants shouted as Coast Guard vessels approached them off the coast of western Turkey's Izmir province. Last week, Ankara said it would no longer stop hundreds of thousands of asylum seekers on its territory from trying to reach Europe after an airstrike on Idlib in Syria killed 34 Turkish soldiers. The Egyptian Health Ministry and the World Health Organization announced 12 new cases of the novel coronavirus COVID-19 on board a Nile cruise ship traveling from Aswan to Luxor. The 12 cases are Egyptian workers on board the ship who came in contact with tourists who had the virus. In accordance with the guidelines of the World Health Organization (WHO), the Egyptian government has taken all preventive and precautionary measures for those who were in contact with the 12 individuals who tested positive for the virus. Security forces cordoned off the area around the U.S. Embassy in Tunisia after at least one militant on a motorbike blew himself up, wounding police officers. State television and a private local radio station reported that 2 militants had carried out the attack and were killed, and that 5 police were injured, but there was no immediate official confirmation. There was no immediate claim of responsibility for the attack so far. More than 100,000 people have been diagnosed with the coronavirus disease globally, with at least 3,015 deaths in China and 267 fatalities in other parts of the globe, most of them in Italy and Iran. At least 1,200 of the new infections are in Iran in just the past 24 hours, the country's biggest jump since the outbreak began. In France, 200 new COVID-19 cases were confirmed overnight, while India and South Korea also reported an increase in the number of infections. Gunmen attacked a ceremony in Kabul, killing at least 27 people in the first major attack on the Afghan capital since Washington reached an agreement with the Taliban to withdraw U.S. troops. A top Afghan political leader, Abdullah Abdullah, was present at the event but escaped safely. Up to 55 people were wounded, according to the Afghan Ministry of Health. However, a health ministry spokesman said the casualty toll could rise. The UN Migration Agency said that the shipwreck of Libya and other recent maritime incidents have raised its estimated death toll among migrants who tried to cross the Mediterranean past the grim milestone of 20,000 deaths since 2014. Paul Dillon, spokesman for the International Organization for Migration, pointed to incidents including the presumed drowning of 91 people who went missing from a dinghy that left Garibaldi, Libya on February 9th, and the disappearance of a ship that set off from Algeria on February 14th. IOM noted Friday that the yearly death toll has declined each year since 2016, when over 5,000 people lost their lives while attempting Mediterranean crossings. The bold agenda adopted 25 years ago to achieve gender equality remains a distant goal, with women still facing poverty, discrimination, and violence, and failing to seriously rise in politics and business despite progress in some areas. It says the word for women in 2020 falls far short of the vision in the 150-page platform for action adopted by 189 nations at the UN Women's Conference in Beijing in 1995. That platform called for bold action in 12 areas for women and girls, including combating poverty and violence, ensuring all girls get an education, and having women at the top levels of business and government, as well as the table in peace negotiations. The European Union will host a Syria donor conference in Brussels on June 29th to 30th to raise funds for victims of the 9-year war and surrounding countries, EU Foreign Policy Chief Joseph Borrell said on Friday. Borrell, the EU's top diplomat, said in Zagreb that governments involved in the conflict will be invited, referring to Turkey and Russia. EU countries gave a cautious welcome Friday to a Russian-Turkish ceasefire in Syria, but urged warring parties to allow in more humanitarian aid. Lebanese Health Minister Hamid Hassan said every Lebanese has the right to return home. His comments came in reply to measures taken to allow 400 Lebanese students who are supposed to return from Iran through the Damascus airport, reaching the Mansa border crossing between Lebanon and Syria. Residents of nearby areas said they are afraid of the info blackout over the matter. They criticized the lack of procedures, especially not demanding the arrivals to wear masks and gloves. Egypt and the United Arab Emirates have stressed their rejection of interference in the affairs of Arab countries and pledged to prevent such meddling from affecting the region's security and stability. Egyptian Minister of Foreign Affairs Sameh Shoukry said on Thursday that Cairo backs the security and stability of Gulf states. He made his remarks during talks in Cairo with UAE's Minister of State for Foreign Affairs Dr. Anwar Gargash. Iran said the new coronavirus has killed 124 people amid 4,747 confirmed cases in the Islamic Republic, as authorities warned they may use force to limit travel between cities. Health Ministry spokesman offered the figures at a televised news conference. He did not elaborate on the threat to use force, but he acknowledged the virus now was in all of Iran's 31 provinces. The threat may be to stop people from using the closed schools and universities as an excuse to go to the Caspian Sea and other Iranian vacation spots. Israel has imposed a lockdown on the city of Bethlehem over coronavirus fears as Palestinian authorities announced a 2-week ban on tourists and shuttered the Church of the Nativity. The moves came after Palestinian authorities said 9 cases had been confirmed in the Bethlehem area south of Jerusalem on Friday and announced a 30-day state of emergency and the cancellation of large gatherings. The number takes the cases in Palestine up to 16. The northwestern Chinese province of Gansu has confirmed 17 new coronavirus cases imported from Iran, bringing the total imported cases to 28. The 17 new patients were among quarantined passengers who entered the provincial capital of Lanzhou on commercial flights from Iran between March the 2nd and March the 5th, the Gansu Health Commission said in a statement on its website. Before the new cases, Gansu has reported 11 imported infections from Iran. A total of 283 passengers arriving from Iran are currently under quarantine. 2 members of British Airways staff had tested positive for coronavirus. In a statement, it said Public Health England PHE has confirmed that 2 members of our staff have tested positive for the COVID-19 virus. The news follows the announcement on Friday that the number of cases of coronavirus in UK reached 163 on Friday, while a second person in the country is feared to have died from the virus. The city of Bethlehem was on lockdown after the first Palestinian cases of the deadly coronavirus were discovered there. The Palestinian government announced a month-long state of emergency after the 7 cases were identified, while the Israeli Defense Ministry said it had imposed emergency measures on Bethlehem, with all people forbidden from entering or leaving the city. It added that the lockdown had been imposed in coordination with the Palestinian Authority.